appears to be something coming off of it. The ground seems to be covered, and it looks like there's something falling off of it, doesn't it?
Oh my God.
Got it? Oh shit, can you hear it?
It's the film flamers.
Hey guys, I'm Chris.
Hey everybody, I'm Robert.
And we're the Film Flamers.
And we are in the middle, I would say the middle. We're at the tail end of summertime, so I think it's time for us to talk about blockbusters.
Yeah, so as usual, every summer we like to talk about the horror blockbusters, the horror adjacent blockbusters. This year is no different, and we are finally bringing you something that we've been wanting to talk about for some time, and that is Cloverfield.
That's right. And perhaps there may be other episodes where we talk about its, I hate to call them sequels, but I guess we'll get into that later on.
Yeah, we've done some found footage before. I don't remember what, but we have. We've definitely done some things where we've said the words cinema verite.
Yes.
Maybe in the range of the 28 Days Later isms of it all.
Possibly.
But Cloverfield is a 2008 American found footage science fiction horror film directed by Matt Reeves and written by Drew Goddard and produced by JJ Abrams.
The Holy Trinity.
The fucking talent. Stars Lizzy Caplan, and that's where it ends. Yeah. Unfortunately. Right before I said Lizzy Caplan's where the... I'm just kidding. She's not my nemesis.
Anymore.
Jessica Lucas, TJ Miller, Michael Stahl-David, Mike Vogel, Odette Yustman also star in the film. 6 friends attempt to flee from a monster that attacks New York City. Spoiler alert. The film's overture, that plays over the end credits, weirdly. Should we call it what? Inditure? I don't know what this is called.
Yeah.
Entitled Roar was composed by oft-JJ collaborator Michael Giacchino.
What is it called when the music plays at the end?
End credits?
Yeah, I guess.
Exit music?
Yeah. Exit music for a film. As part of a viral marketing campaign, a teaser trailer was released ahead of screenings of Transformers without a title. The final title was revealed in a second teaser trailer attached to screenings of Beowulf. So 3 people saw it. With limited pre-release details.
I was one of them.
It garnered online speculation, including forums and websites dedicated to uncovering hidden information about the film. Several tie-ins, including a prequel manga series, were released as part of this marketing campaign.
Now, why wouldn't the snoo-hoo part of you, beg you to go see something like Beowulf?
I hate Beowulf. It is I just can't.
What about Grendel?
Stand it. No, I don't like any part of Beowulf. I just don't.
I mean, the sequel.
There's a sequel?
I think there's a more modern written sequel called Grendel.
Oh, yeah, I have no desire. I don't like that age of literature.
You don't like epic?
I don't like medieval shit.
Oh, my God.
I know. I'm a modernist.
Okay, listeners. Whatever. Nobody ever listens to me, and when they do, we're going to die. This is Cloverfield. Fun fact. Was that me, or was that a quote from the film?
It's a toss-up.
Let's go.
What is this for? It's for Rob. Say something to him before he leaves.
Rob's awesome. I'm gonna miss it. Rob, have fun in Japan.
You owe me $11.
How are you gonna survive without Rob? He's like your main dude.
Yeah, no. Hey, how am I gonna survive without you?
I don't know, I'm like your main dude.
What was that noise?
You sound like an animal.
Yeah, just relax. Everything.
Phone calls are pouring into the New York One newsroom as a thunderous, roaring sound.
Do you see something from the roof?
What animal sounds like that?
Shaking everywhere, man. It's like tremors.
Looks like you should have left town a little bit earlier.
What is it? Is it coming this way?
see Jason! Let me see Jason!
Tonight's gonna be the best night ever.
Classification: Top Secret. Cloverfield. Department of Defense. Incident Documentation Unit. Abstract of recovered visual evidence. Case file designation: Cloverfield. Recovery location: Sector designated US 447, area formerly known as Central Park, Manhattan. Media format: personal consumer grade camcorder, recovered on site. Recovery authority: US Department of Defense. Disclaimer: this document constitutes an abstract of footage retrieved from a personal recording device recovered in Sector US 447. Multiple corroborating civilian sightings of the primary hostile entity are referenced in the larger classified case file designated Cloverfield. Content is presented in chronological order as recorded. Number 1. Preliminary recording. Baseline data. Initial footage time-stamped 27 April 2008. Documents subject Hawkins, Robert, aka Rob, and subject McIntyre, Bethany, aka Beth, at a private residence, followed by civilian recreational activity across the New York City metropolitan area, terminating at Coney Island. The segment predates the incident and is retained for subject identification purposes. It is presumed that subjects Hawkins and McIntyre had just done the codename Dirty Dirty. 2. Primary recording. Event night. Subsequent and majority footage timestamped 22 May 2008 was recorded by subject Platt Hudson, aka HUD, codename Douche Canoe. Tasked with documenting a farewell gathering for subject Hawkins, relocating to Japan at a lower Manhattan residence. Additional subjects of record: Hawkins, Jason, sibling, Ford, Lily, Diamond, Marlena, and McIntyre, Bethany. 3. Incident onset. At approximately the party's midpoint, sensors and civilian observation registered a seismic event producing a temporary citywide power interruption. Contemporaneous local media attributed the disturbance to a capsized maritime vessel, oil tanker, in the vicinity of Liberty Island, an assessment now known to be inaccurate. Rooftop footage captured a distal explosion followed by airborne debris. The severed cranial structure of the Statue of Liberty was subsequently deposited at the street level in the vicinity of the subjects, confirming a large-scale kinetic event of unknown origin. Code phrase: monster gave us head. 4. Hostile entity identification. Footage captured a large-scale bioform of indeterminate classification, aka the entity, at a distance of several city blocks in the act of structurally compromising the Woolworth building. Witness subject Diamond provided verbal testimony indicating the entity was observed consuming civilian personnel. Recorded observations further confirmed the presence of numerous smaller parasitic organisms detaching from the primary entity and engaging both military and civilian targets independently. Codename Snatch Goblins. 5. Military response. Confirmed. Footage corroborates deployment of the Army National Guard 42nd Infantry Division in direct engagement with the entity. The entity demonstrated the capacity to destroy the Brooklyn Bridge, resulting in the death of subject J. Hawkins, and to withstand sustained conventional fire. Media footage viewed by subjects confirms coordinated but ineffective ground engagement. Code phrase: we're fucked. 6. Subject movement and secondary casualties. Surviving subjects proceeded toward Midtown Manhattan to extract subject B, McIntyre, reported trapped at the Time Warner Center. During subterranean transit, subway system, subjects were engaged by parasitic organisms. Subject Diamond sustained a bite injury. Following extraction to a field triage facility, subject Diamond exhibited acute physiological failure. Ocular hemorrhaging followed by fatal biological rupture, indicating a probable transmissible pathogen or toxin associated with parasite contact. biohazard containment protocols were observed on site. Codename Jiffy Popping Parasites. 7. Hammer Down Protocol. Referenced. Footage documents command-level acknowledgement of the impending Hammer Down Protocol, a saturating bombardment operation intended to neutralize the entity at the accepted cost of catastrophic destruction to Manhattan. Subjects were advised of the final evacuation timing prior to execution. Code phrase, can't touch this. Section 8, Terminal Sequence. Subjects successfully extracted Subject B. McIntyre, recovered from the structural impalement, and reached evacuation aircraft at Grand Central Terminal. Aerial footage documents engagement of the entity by a B-2 Spirit aircraft deploying Mark 82 munitions. The entity was temporarily incapacitated but survived and remained active, subsequently downing the subject's rotary wing evacuation aircraft in Sector US 447. Subject Platt was killed at the crash site by the entity. Code phrase, Deja Douche Canoe. 9. Final recording. Surviving subjects Hawkins and McIntyre sheltered beneath Grayshot Arch and provided closing personal testimony as Hammerdown commenced. The recording device was displaced and buried under structural debris. Fate of subjects presumed deceased. Recording terminates during active bombardment. Code phrase, Pompeii, the guy coming up with these dad jokes. Addendum A, Anomaly, Priority Review. Analysis of the archival 27 April 2008 segment, Coney Island, identifies an unidentified object descending into the Atlantic at frame right, temporarily preceding the incident by approximately 1 month. Origin unknown. Recommended for further investigation. Addendum B, Audio Anomaly, Priority Review. A recovered audio fragment contains the phrase, "Help us." Reverse signal processing yields the phrase, "It's still alive." Implications regarding continued entity viability are unresolved and flagged for immediate command attention. Assessment. Entity status post-Hammerdown unconfirmed. Recommend maintenance of case designation Cloverfield at current classification level pending resolution of addenda A and B. Code phrase, "See you later, bitches." End of abstract.
The end.
That was hard to read.
Sever the line.
Why do I feel like you're always getting back at me for Jaws? It was so many years ago.
Cloverfield was released on January 18th, 2008, the month where movies usually go to die. However, this movie did not die. It earned $40 million opening weekend, securing the #1 spot at the box office, which at the time was the most successful January release of all time. The film would slip out of the top 10 by its 5th weekend release, but would go on to be a massive hit. Ultimately, Cloverfield would earn $172.4 million worldwide against a reported budget of $30 million. And despite it pulling out, it did spawn a sequel.
It pulled out. Cloverfield has a 78% on Rotten Tomatoes and is certified fresh. The audience score sits at 68%. The site's consensus reads, a sort of Blair Witch Project crossed with Godzilla. Cloverfield is economically paced, stylistically clever, and filled with scares. Audiences polled by CinemaScore opening weekend gave the film an average grade of C.
Roger Ebert gave the film 3 stars and wrote that it's pretty scary at times and cites unmistakable evocations of 9/11. He concludes that all in all, it's an effective film, deploying its special effects well and never breaking into the illusion that it's all happening as we see it. Mark Savlov of the Austin Chronicle called the film the most intense and original creature feature I've seen in my adult movie-going life. A pure-blood, grade-A, exhilarating monster movie. He cites Matt Reeves' direction, the whip-smart, stylistically invisible script, and the nearly subconscious evocation of our current paranoid, terror-phobic times as the keys to the film's success, saying that telling the story through the lens of one of the characters' cameras works fantastically well. That's such a good review.
It is. I need to start saying whip smart more often. Michael Phillips of the Chicago Tribune warned that the viewer may feel queasy at the references to September 11th, but that other sequences carry a real jolt, and that such tactics were crude but undeniably gripping. He called the film dumb, but quick and dirty and effectively brusque.
Brusque, that's a little word.
Whip brusque. concluding that despite it being a harsher, more demographically calculating brand of fun, he enjoyed the film. Bruce Patterson of Cinephilia described the film as a successful experiment in style, but not necessarily a successful story for those who want dramatic closure.
Empire magazine named it the 5th best film of 2008. The French film journal Cahiers I don't know how to say that. Named the film as the 3rd best of 2008. Bloody Disgusting ranked the film number 20 in their list of the top 20 horror films of the decade, with the article calling the film a brilliant conceit, to be sure, backed by a genius early marketing campaign that followed the less is more philosophy to tantalizing effect. Much like Blair Witch nearly 10 years earlier, Cloverfield helped prove, particularly in its first half hour, that what you don't see can be the scariest thing of all.
Hear, hear.
Some good reviews, well-written reviews in this one.
Yeah, I think people were sort of taken by surprise by this movie. It has some accolades and legacy. At the Saturn Awards, it was nominated for Best Supporting Actress for Lizzy Caplan, but she lost, deservedly, to Marcia Gay Harden for The Mist. See our deep dive.
If I wanted an award like the Saturn Award, I would squat down and shit went out.
But shit went out. However, it won Best Science Fiction Film, and it was also that year Against Sunshine.
Fuck me. Sunshine should have won.
See our deep dive.
At the Golden Schmoes, it was nominated for Most Underrated, Trippiest Movie, Best Horror Movie, Best Sci-Fi Movie, and Best Special Effects, but I guess got one of none of them.
Yeah, it won nothing. It won no schmoes.
My goodness.
Cloverfield will go on to spawn 2 spiritual sequels, 10 Cloverfield Lane and The Cloverfield Paradox. However, anytime a movie is filming under a very suspicious working title these days, the internet is always abuzz as to whether or not it's actually a Cloverfield sequel.
And I don't even know if it's these days because people don't really think about that franchise anymore.
Well,
but for a while it was.
The movie that's coming out this August about dinosaurs running amok in suburbia, it had some weird title, and everyone was like, oh, it's a Cloverfield movie. And then the marketing made it like a Cloverfield movie until now we can actually see the dinosaurs in the trailer.
Yeah, and they're saying like it's the most Spielbergian blockbuster of the last 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, I want to see it. I like dinosaurs and Anne Hathaway.
So. Yeah, sure. I want to say this is interesting because 10 Cloverfield Lane was not meant to be a Cloverfield. It was a standalone, but they decided to slap the name on it, and which doesn't really make sense. But it's fine, and I think it works. And then Cloverfield Paradox also, I think, had it slapped on afterwards. So it's like something that like I haven't really seen people do before or since, and it's happened twice in this franchise. With Cloverfield Paradox, I think like more intentionally towards the end, they spent some real money to make it. I was spoiled by something that happens at the end of Cloverfield Paradox, which I do want to see now for Patreon.
Okay, well, I'm down for that. I mean, we might as well be completionists when we do a franchise, especially a franchise that we can do in 1 month instead of 17 years.
And at least it got mixed reviews, and it didn't get like universally bad reviews.
I thought it did.
It did at first, but then people were like, it's not that bad.
Oh, people softened it a little bit?
Well, it's because people were like, oh, it's a Cloverfield movie. So it's like when you attach a franchise to something, you have all of its baggage and expectations with it. And that worked spectacularly for Cloverfield Lane. Right?
Yes.
It obviously didn't for Cloverfield, especially with the weight of the like as formative and interesting as that was for like found footage and post 9/11ism and all that stuff. With the first one, 10 Cloverfield Lane was really, really interesting from like a claustrophobic standpoint, and a really interesting villainous turn and dramatic turn from John Goodman.
And I think when we talk about 10 Cloverfield Lane on the next episode, we will probably talk about maybe some people's response to 9/11. So there still is some like post 9/11ism going on within that movie somewhere, I think.
Yeah.
So, but let's get into this one, the original that spawned those spiritual successors. And do you want to start by talking about this cast?
Sure. I mean, it's a lot of people that have done a lot of work. Michael Stahl-David as Rob Hawkins, our main dude, right? Lots of random shit like the Black Donnellys, but not really anything else. Odette Yustman as Beth McIntyre, the tag along the whole thing, Rob's girlfriend. And lots of random shit like House is what she was in, mostly TV. TJ Miller, obviously kind of a household name at this point.
Yeah.
As Hud Platt, the cameraman, who I did not remember was in this movie.
I totally forgot too.
Yeah. and capturing the events and of course Rob's best friend. Of course, he was did several voices, I think, in How to Train Your Dragon. He was a voice in Ready Player One. He was obviously in Deadpool 1 and 2. And then he also has some like weird personal history, like his like a 2001 sexual assault alleged thing happening, although no charges were ever filed, but the school like corroborated that there was a file charge, but not like a crime. I don't know. Then there was like an Uber assault theoretically that where he like attacked his Uber driver maybe, but that was like dismissed. And then there was like a fake Amtrak bomb report that was pinned on him, but was dismissed. So I don't know what the fuck's happening with this guy, but like his career stopped like 5 years ago after Deadpool 2 when all like the Me Too stuff came out, but that Me Too stuff came out or at least theoretically, allegedly happened before ever even this movie came out. So over 20 years ago. So I don't know what's going on with this guy's career, but I was shocked to kind of see him.
I think this was his first movie too. If
Yeah, it was.
I read that somewhere, and like I felt like he was going to have a very long career as like the comedic sidekick. You know, like it just seems to fit him well or whatever. Maybe he was typecast after this, but yeah, I totally forgot he was in this movie too. And frankly, like, no shade to him, but I kind of forget that TJ Miller exists until I see TJ Miller in something.
Yeah. Now he's been in a bunch, but mostly like his voice and comedic work, and he did stand up. But this did not launch a film career for him. No. Not until later. So next we've got Jessica Lucas as Lily Ford, Jason's fiance. She was in the Evil Dead remake as a main, and then she was also like a bit part in Pompeii, I think.
I haven't seen Pompeii.
And then Pompeii, some attention. Lizzy Caplan is the other bigger star that eventually got a career as Marlena Diamond, the fellow partygoer and HUD's crush. She was obviously in Mean Girls, Hot Tub Time Machine, 127 Hours, Cobweb, which I completely forgot about. We need a deep dive of that.
I loved Cobweb.
And later at Overlook, we saw a movie called Drag, with that hopefully is coming out later this year, and that was a blast. Yep. With her and Danny DeVito's daughter. On TV, she was in original Freaks and Geeks of that troupe, and True Blood, Masters of Sex, Fatal Attraction. So the Fatal Attraction TV show. But I have to note, all these people are like my exact age. Like all of the people in here, which of course makes me feel ancient. But at least some of them are still like, I don't know.
Why does it make you feel ancient?
Because I look back on this and I think of, watch an older movie. Like I thought it came out earlier, like in the early thousands, maybe.
Yeah.
I guess it didn't, but like 2008. And I don't know, like I see them and I just feel like maybe when I watched this, they were older, but no, they're all exactly my age. I don't know. It's weird psychologically.
So that means in 2008, you would have been just the right age demographic to be running away from the monster.
Almost 20 years ago.
To the day. This movie, well, let's get through the cast and then we'll talk about them as a whole.
Yeah, Michael Vogel is next as Jason Hawkins, Rob's brother. Yeah. He's the handsome one. He was in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake, the Poseidon remake, some part in The Help, and then Fantasy Island, which was, I guess, a Blumhouse.
Yeah, it was a horror movie.
Yeah, and then on TV, it was in like the made-for-TV movie with Wuthering Heights in the early thousands, I think. Pan Am, Bates Motel, Under the Dome, and Childhood's End.
He is the actor I know the most from this. I think I've seen most of the things that he's
more than Lizzy Caplan.
Well, I mean, yes, I know Lizzy Caplan. I mean, because I think that she became like the most largest household name from this or whatever, you know. And and then Mike Vogel's a really close second. I think that he was in a lot. You know, when I look at people's names from this list, you know, like Odette Yustman, I have no idea who the hell that is, right? But I recognize Mike Vogel when I see it or read it. I mean, I always think of his face. But
I didn't even recognize this guy, but Ben Feldman, he walks in as Beth's friend or whatever, like pseudo dating maybe at the beginning. And he ended up in the Friday the 13th remake and then Below the Paris.
Yep.
Under the Paris, whatever, As Above, So Below. And then on TV, he was in Medium Mad Men, and I instantly remembered him because he's like a crazy dude on Mad Men eventually. It was kind of sad for his end. Then on Silicon Valley, Superstore, and Mayfair Witches, and a TV show out right now, Ghosts. So I recognized him mainly when he got older. He was super young, I guess, when he played this role.
I mean, I really enjoyed Superstore. So, like, randomly, it was a TV show that I watched.
Wow, okay.
So, and I thought he was funny in that. And also, I really enjoyed the Friday the 13th remake.
Really?
Yeah, whenever we did our top 10 remakes, like Friday the 13th was in my top 10. I really love it. So maybe as we're working our way through the Friday the 13th movies and we're selecting the ones that we want to talk about and the ones we want to skip, right? Maybe we just make sure we add the remake in there.
Okay. Maybe we can do all the remakes, like the Nightmare on Elm Street one that sucks. Although I like that actor that played Freddy.
Let me cough. All over that movie. It's okay. Like I've watched it again randomly, and it wasn't as bad as it was.
They just forget the fun part. They always like the Rob Zombie Halloween. It's just like completely forgets any of the like. Oh yeah, this is supposed to actually like be worthy of eating popcorn too at some point. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's talk about the background of this. JJ Abrams conceived of a monster film after he and his son actually visited a toy store in Japan while promoting Mission Impossible 3. And he explained, quote, "We saw all these Godzilla toys and I thought we need our own American monster and not King Kong. I love King Kong. King Kong's adorable and Godzilla's a charming monster. We love Godzilla, but I wanted something that was just insane and intense." And so Clover was born.
And there we have it.
Mm-hmm. In February 2007, Paramount Pictures secretly greenlit Cloverfield to be produced by Abrams, directed by Matt Reeves, and written by Drew Goddard. And all these people were, I think, working on Lost at the time, which was a big hit.
Yeah.
Right? So both Abrams and Reeves have been friends since they were 13 years old. And I did not know that. And went on to co-create the college drama series Felicity for the WB, while Goddard was a writer for ABC's Lost at the time, also co-created by Abrams. And I want to go a little bit, if it's okay, into the background of these three people, because I think they are huge talents and continuing talents, and their careers are far from over.
Yes. And I mean, like, these are still people that we talk about. I feel like Matt Reeves is just getting better and better with time, right?
Yeah.
So, and also, I love Felicity. So, go ahead.
Okay. Like the adjective or the person?
Both.
I guess it would be, is it an adjective or a verb?
Felicity, I think, would be
A verb.
a noun.
A noun? That's a thing, yes. I'm bad at English and words. JJ Abrams started as a writer on films such as Taking Care of Business, Regarding Henry, Forever Young. Yeah, he wrote Forever Young. How the fuck? I didn't know that. Armageddon. Right. And then finally started his directing career with Mission Impossible 3 as far as movies. Mission Impossible 3, Star Trek, which is basically his demo reel to get Star Wars, right? Super 8, which was his Spielbergian attempt with one young Fanning, I believe, Elle Fanning. That was the first time I've ever seen her.
Yeah, I watched that movie. I forgot about it until just now.
It was certainly a movie. Star Wars Force Comatosis and Star Wars Rise of Bullshit were also things that he directed. As a TV writer, director, and showrunner, he did Felicity, Alias, Lost, Fringe, Undercovers, etc. So this guy is big. And although I think since Star Wars, he has kind of gone into hiding a little bit from all the hate, the fan hate.
Yeah.
And Star Trek is not coming back to life, as his universe isn't. And but I do know that he is making a new sci-fi, maybe horror adjacent film under wraps right now.
Yeah, I think I read that somewhere recently. And
Bad Robot.
The thing is, I feel like JJ Abrams really got big with his TV work, right? And I also feel that his TV work is probably much better than some of the movies that he has made.
Well, he also kind of got on the bad side of the internet when he did his TED Talk about the mystery box.
What did he say in his TED Talk?
He said, "Don't ever open the mystery box," which pissed people off that were still watching Lost and like thinking about the Lost finale. And Super 8 and like all of his Cloverfield, like everything that he touches, he wants a mystery box, intentionally either doesn't know or will never say what the secret is. Right. Which is great for the mythology. That's what makes the first Alien movie work so well. And like, you know, showing and not telling and what you don't show is scarier and all that stuff works, but like, don't make it into like a cult. You know what I mean? To like build things, make it more and more complex. And then to the point where you're backed into a corner where it doesn't actually make any sense. He's saying, get back into that corner. You don't ever have to answer any questions. It's the feeling you're going for. But no, that just eventually pisses people off.
Yeah, it pisses me off. I mean, like, I was a faithful Lost watcher for the first, like, 3 seasons or so. And then by the time that 3rd or 4th season, I can't remember when I stopped watching it, Like I felt like they were creating more questions than they were supplying answers, and I was fatigued by it.
It's a much easier watch when you're not waiting for seasons.
Yeah, and I just don't know that I have the patience to go back and even try to finish it. And thanks to pop culture and internet spoilers, I don't have to.
No, and then like going back and looking at all those character one shots, like none of them mattered. They just didn't. And so I just feel like half that show, it just didn't matter. Anyway, moving on to Drew Goddard. If all of you don't know, for writing, he was on Cloverfield. He wrote and directed Cabin in the Woods.
Yay!
Right.
See our deep dive.
Wrote World War Z. Wrote The Martian. And then wrote and directed Bad Times at El Royale.
It's a good movie.
And then wrote Project Hail Mary.
Also a very good movie.
Yeah. And on TV, he did Buffy, Angel, Alias, Lost, Daredevil, The Good Place. So he was working with JJ Abrams and Joss Whedon at the time, both of which were the top of their game in TV and TV writing. Right. So obviously, and then he transitioned into directing. I think one of his first ever to direct was like the Puppet Angel episode.
Oh, I like that episode.
And then like a year or two after that, he did Cabin in the Woods,
which was a very good movie. And I still love it. I could probably watch that movie endlessly.
Yeah. And of course, I think Whedon was attached to that as well. Yeah. He was like a producer on that.
He did produce that.
Yeah.
I think Drew Goddard is like, if I try to think about like my style or like the kinds of things that I enjoy watching or like listening to, because I think a lot of these movies have really good, like kind of impeccable scripts, right? I think he's just right up there. Like all the movies that he has written or directed, I seem to like very much. Even when I don't like them and I go back and watch them again, I'm like, you know what? I actually dig that movie. Kind of like World War Z, you know?
Yep.
So,
and so you can have also writers that are really good at scripts, dialogue and stuff like that, but not as good as story structure. But Drew is obviously just a really good, well-rounded, story and script.
He's super, super talented.
Then we've got Matt Reeves, who of course directed this, Cloverfield. He also then directed Let Me In, and then Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, War of the Planet of the Apes, The Batman.
Yes.
The Batman is like pure cinema.
I loved that movie.
Yeah. I didn't see Let Me In because I had already seen the original.
I saw it in the theater. It's good for an American remake. It's not my favorite, but I think it's like really, really competently well made.
I don't remember the Planets movies like individually by their titles anymore because there's so many of them.
And I'm always shocked by how that
was
franchise
Dawn
is
the
still
first
going
one.
On. No, I don't know either.
I think Dawn was no. God, I don't fucking know. Anyway, but all of them were good. I just never felt the need to watch them again. I just remember thinking, man, that was awesome. And then just never feeling like I needed to.
I don't think I've seen any of the sequels past like the Tim Burton one, right?
Oh, God.
Yeah, which was terrible. And maybe that's why it just...
You didn't see any of these?
No, but I mean, a lot of people that I know or are related to really, really like these movies and talk about them a lot.
Yeah, I want to say like the kickoff one was fine with James Franco, but the ones after that, the which I thought was a trilogy, but apparently they're making like another one and another one after that, which I haven't seen.
Yeah, there's a lot.
But those two, which I think is maybe these two, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes and War of the Planet of the Apes, I think those were really good films. But it doesn't surprise me because it's fucking Matt Reeves.
And I like I said, watching the Batman, when it came out, I know you had seen it and recommended it, and we finally sat down and watched it together, and I really, really enjoyed it. I feel like it made its into the top 10 of our horror movies that year because that's the kind of movie that it is. And like now having seen Cloverfield again, I can see how this man is just getting better as a director, right? And is he doing the sequel to the Batman? Right? I think he's also directing it.
Mm-hmm.
So I know it's going to be good.
So we've talked about the cast, we've talked about the crew. I do want to quickly talk about the rest of the film before we get into like the themes, which I know we've mentioned it before, but the marketing was super close to the vest on this. Like nothing like it before or since, in my opinion. Like the first trailer for this movie played before Transformers, as we said, but it showed like a giant explosion in the heart of New York City and the Statue of Liberty's head being thrown down a street. And then it was shot like handheld video on a video recorder, and there was no title. It just said JJ Abrams, and then it said the date of release. Mm-hmm. There was no title. I've never seen that before or since. And everyone was just like, it makes you go out and look it up. And that made it viral, right? there were a lot of theories from that. And it just like with the water cooler discussion from that trailer, some of the most popular were documented by the Star Ledger, which suggested that the film could be based on the works of H.P. Lovecraft or a new entry into the Godzilla series. The Guardian reported the possibility of a spinoff to Abrams' television show Lost, right? And then like a misinterpretation of the trailer's line, "It's alive," sounded like "it's a lion," which is what I heard because I remember this. And this kind of like, when I read this, it dredged up these memories of like going on the early internet. I guess this wasn't early internet, but internet, certainly pre-modern internet as it is today. And looking at these viral sites and looking at like, what could it mean by "it's a lion," you know? And that led USA Today to speculate live action adaptation of Japanese animated series Voltron is what it could have been. Right. So like they didn't have any like official movie website. It was all based on like these products. And then there was like MySpace pages for all of the characters. MySpace. Yeah. All of which were accessible and featuring available photos. Blog posts had been removed, but like it was all there based on those characters. And so unlike most viral marketing campaigns, this one had virtually nothing to do with anything in the film. And then it focused a lot on this fictional drink called Slusho and a fictional company called Tugrato, slowly giving clues to the secret origin of the monster that isn't addressed properly in the film. And so like there's people trying to piece these things together. There's like people getting fed certain things from the studio that are creating like, there was one like TrevorWasRight.com or something like that. And it was about H.P. Lovecraft, but it started to like be taken over by like the stuff the studio was feeding it with the Cloverfield stuff, you know? And so they hijacked other websites, right? Based on that. And it was really interesting and unique. Obviously it had a title by the second trailer, but I still remember kind of living through that and then searching the internet, trying to going to Ain't It Cool News, you know, like trying to see what the answers were, what the latest thing was. Because of course there hadn't been a JJ Abrams movie really. There, you know, we didn't really know who these people were. We knew he was doing Lost, you know, so I don't know.
Well, I mean, an Alias, you know, I feel like by the time this movie came around, he was already a very well-known household name, right? Just based on things like Alias and Lost. But I remember, you know, seeing that the teaser because I took my nephew to go see Transformers.
He wasn't like quite to like Whedon levels of household by that point.
No, but I mean, like for people who were certainly Whedon fans, you know, like they would watch the same kinds of shows, you know, and
they followed Drew Goddard. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was already a fan of Felicity, you know, so I mean, like I also really liked Alias quite a bit. So, I mean, like I liked JJ Abrams.
In fact, that's actually looking back. That's actually one of the reasons why, because I looked after Angel and Buffy after I'd watched those shows late because I never watched them on the air except for a couple with Angel at the tail end. And I was like, where's Janice Benson? Where's Drew Goddard? Where are they going? And then I saw that they were going to Lost and some of these others. And that's what made me watch Lost was writers. And I think that's one of the first times ever that I followed or went to go see something. Either in the movies or on TV, simply because I liked the writer.
I mean, and it was a good thing to do. So, however, I did not go look a whole bunch of things up. I knew that eventually someone would tell me what this movie was, so I just didn't bother.
Well, you were already an old man.
I was already an old man, and I got burned in my youth with a very similar kind of marketing campaign for a little film called The Blair Witch Project, and I wasn't about to get burned again.
You got burned? What do you mean?
I mean, like...
Did you believe it?
No, I mean, because obviously it's fiction, you know, but like...
Half the kids I went to see that with in high school
thought it was real?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I didn't think it was real. But, I mean, I like the way that they presented it. And, you know, I was closer to my teenage years at that point and not like 29 years old, like when this movie came out. And, like I got sucked into it. I would go to the websites and things that were listed. I talked about it endlessly and I was ready to see Blair Witch Project.
And then you got Blair Witch Project.
And then we went to go see it. And I walked out of that theater and I was just like, never again will I fall for this kind of marketing campaign for a found footage film. And then I went to go see Cloverfield on opening weekend. So I learned nothing except to not research.
Yeah.
I don't know. But it's neat, you know, and I think that marketing campaigns like this work, right? So I think it's important to remember that films can do this now. Like, I feel like nobody teases their movies anymore. Everything is so tentpole, and like you have to have a following like a year before the movie's coming out, and no one just does things very like slowly and methodically and just really holds things close to the vest like they did with this one, right? Create your own buzz. And this is for a very original kind of movie that had a very original marketing campaign. And I think that's really neat and never happens anymore. So
Agreed. I would like to also talk about the music a little bit,
okay.
of which there are none. I mean, obviously we have that in credits.
Roar!
That's over the top. Like, have you listened to it?
Yeah. So, okay. One of my favorite things about when Cloverfield came out was this piece of music.
Yeah,
right?
I stayed in the credits and I still remember being like, what the fuck is this?
And I favorited it on Spotify or whatever music service that I had at the time. And I listened to Roar all the time. I really like it.
Yeah, it's so over the top. It's just like the music under pressure to be released the entire movie and then just explodes.
That's right.
And so that's what that is. And of course that's by Michael Giacchino. So, but whenever something like scary or big is about to happen, there's groans of buildings and stomps can be heard, or even something as small as like a hum of fluorescent lights, or the noise of a crowd is making like either gasps or screams, or even hushed whispering en masse. So in total, these sound effects are actually used in a subtle but really constant fashion. And listening actively, which is not easy to do actually, because you are swept into this thing. It's really easy to see how the filmmakers are manipulating all of these sounds as a score, because you don't miss a score in this film.
No,
you don't
you
go,
don't.
where's the music? Where's awkward? You know, you don't, if you turned the music off for like Jaws, Indiana Jones, or any of the John Williams stuff, or you'd be like, what the fuck am I watching? You know, but with this, you don't miss it. It's done in such a way that you just don't need it. There's no dull moments enough where the atmosphere just isn't enough. And they are using sound effects in such a way to really kind of score this film, including like notes from, in a way, from the building groans falling apart and from the monster roaring in the distance and things and explosions. And all of those have tones to them that are, you know, sparking emotion and panic and tension and things like that. And so I think like this is something, if you are like interested in sound design, or even music scoring, like this is a really good cross-section film, maybe one of the best to look at for that sort of thing.
I have to really agree with you, because like it's not until Roar starts to play at the end of the movie when you stop and go, oh, there was no music in that film at all, you know, and there's a lot of like really heightened emotional parts to this that you would expect to have some sort of like swelling score in the background, right? And you don't have it at all, but it's also not silent. And I think a lot of it is like, I know one of the reviewers said something very similar to like economically paced or whatnot. Like I think this movie is good for many, many reasons. And I think one of my favorite things about it is that like it is constantly moving and going somewhere with the story. Like you never feel bored or anything like that. And I feel like if there were moments where you just felt super bored in it, then you would start to notice the lack of music. Right.
Maybe, but it's just like, okay, they're crossing the bridge. They're in a crowd scene. This is going to get tedious if it gets like really cinema verite about it, where they're just like standing there. But no, before you can even think about that, like the fucking tail of the monster hits this. This monster is everywhere in this movie. Like,
yeah.
This thing gets around.
It's everywhere, but nowhere at the same time.
Yeah. Speaking of which, the VFX and creature design. So artist Neville Page from Men in Black, Star Trek, did all he was the main lead creature designer in Avatar of all things. Noah, 65, designed the creature itself, and then Phil Tippett Studios developed the VFX based on that design, and the others. And then, I think the rest is history. I think this film, especially for how cinema verite shaky cam it is, did some amazing compositing that really works even today. And maybe that's part of it, is because when I'm compositing or trying to make something look more cinematic or physical, when I composite, a lot of things I do is add grain or add imperfections on top of everything as a layer, right? If I'm doing digital art. And so one of the things that they would do to composite and special effects on this is add the camcorder grain and like the bad contrast because it's on a camcorder from 2008. and all of that. And so like that helps hide the seams of visual effects. And so a lot of the stuff still looks great because of that.
I think it's super effective. I think that the moments in this movie where you get to see like the actual entirety of the monster are really cool looking. And I think the monster looks really cool and very, very different.
Yes. So I don't know that the kiddos of today or people younger than us would really agree with that. But like there was nothing like that before this. Nothing, right? It was Godzilla in various incarnations and dinosaurs and King Kong, and big robots, things like that, right? Things that are more worldly looking, spiders or, animal based. But, and even this looks like a bat or something, but nothing quite like that with the reverse articulated arms and all that stuff. Like nothing quite like it had existed. You don't really see things like that until maybe Guillermo del Toro did Pacific Rim. And now we got a huge amount, like a fucking catalog of different and weird and interesting monsters, right?
Yeah.
And then, of course, we've got a bunch of that from like manga and anime and stuff since then, too. And so I feel like the world of today, post Cloverfield and post Pacific Rim and all these other things, we have a lot more of those like kaiju, different style, very creative monsters that just did not exist at this time.
No, not in America, right? I mean, like, I feel like when you look at most giant monster movies, you really think about Japan, obviously, with Godzilla, but for this is a very American kaiju kind of movie.
Well, even in
right?
Japan, it was the kaiju were like a big moth, a big turtle, a big gorilla, a big dragon with 3 heads. Like it was all just like really earth culture based, right? Animal based.
And well, you're right. And this, I mean, you can see, like you said, it does seem kind of bat-like. It has pterodactyl kind of arms-ish, right? And you would expect it to fly, but there's no wings, right? Mm-hmm. It's got a very distinct looking face and mouth. And I mean, I don't know. I think it's just a really cool, really different kind of monster. And I'm kind of taken aback by it every time I see this movie at how neat the monster is. But one of my favorite things about it is that you don't get to see it in its entirety a lot in this movie. Mm-hmm. And I think that makes it special. You watch Godzilla and Godzilla's there a lot.
It's like watching like the T-Rex in the forest that's obscured by trees and stuff like that. But the trees in this case are the skyscrapers.
And it's just like climbing all around them and causing all this chaos, and then like it's a giant fucking monster, and New York is not that big of an island. And yet there are moments in this movie where the characters feel so far away from the giant monster, and then they turn around and it's right there looking at them. You know what I mean? I think it's just really cool and effective.
Yeah. And some of that, of course, is just fantasy, right? Like you would hear and see this thing before it gets that close to you.
And they would never just be
like
walking.
The fucking bridge, and some other things. A lot of it was just in service to the movie, which is great. That's fine.
Yeah, and that's what movies should do.
Yep. And so, although I should say, like tidbit here, despite its size, the monster was conceived by the film's creators as being a newborn.
Oh.
Right? The creature is covered with parasites, which it sheds as part of a post-birth ritual.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Yeah. And as a baby, at 20, it's looking for its mommy. Mm-hmm. And at 25 stories tall, or 90 meters, compared to the smaller original Godzilla at 50 meters. So it's almost twice as tall, as big as the original Godzilla, although it's about the same size as the Statue of Liberty, base to flame at 93 meters, or the new Godzilla from the 2020s, and the newest at 120 meters is taller again than it by about 50%. And then, of course, just the biggest sandworm from Dune at 400 meters, just like 4 times the length or height of this thing, just to give you an idea of how big those sandworms are.
The sandworms are big. Oh, okay. I don't think I realized that.
Yeah, they're super long.
Okay.
Their mouth is probably big enough to swallow the head or bite off the head of one of these big kaiju, for sure. But you only see its head ever. But anyway, this thing is a huge monster. But it's like I said, like 25 stories tall. They go up to like a 60-story building in this. And this thing is barely big enough to swipe off the head of the Statue of Liberty, much less then kick it down a street again, in Manhattan. But again, moments that are created for the film for popcorn's sake, rather than like, why did it attack this? Maybe it was looking for its mom and it got angry and thought of the Statue of Liberty as a threat, followed the head that it kicked off, and then like started attacking things from there. I don't know.
Maybe it's just bored.
I don't know. So anyway, I thought that was interesting, size differences. I do want to bring up the premise a little bit of this because we do see different creatures. Yeah. Like this thing isn't just like, alone. At first I thought it was babies. I thought it was having babies.
So did I.
But apparently they don't look anything like it. So, right, they're more insecty like the things coming off of it and biting people and exploding them. Those are like it brings to mind like The Mist. Right. And I looked up The Mist. And of course, I didn't realize that original story was as old as it was. And that came out in 1980.
Yeah, it's a really old Stephen King novella.
But I don't know if it's in the novella that it's all these disparate entities, maybe from different places rather than opening a portal to one other place. You know what I mean?
They speculate, but it does talk about how each of the monsters that kind of attack the store are different. It's not just one kind of thing.
Yeah. And so that reminds me of Half-Life, which kind of took from that idea, like this Cthulhian, but also like the Mist kind of idea where there's a portal, but it's opening to everywhere, like all at once, everything, everywhere, all at once kind of, and letting everything through, everything from like kind of, alien that are just like incidentally dangerous or things that aren't dangerous, but mostly things that really, really are. And they're outside of their environment. And they're, and some of these designs actually remind me of some of the things, and then also I got spoiled a little bit. And so there is something to put an adult-sized version of this massive monster creature into relative size, maybe in Paradox.
Okay. Well, now I'm also intrigued.
See?
Okay. See, you just needed to whet my whistle
even
a
if
little
it's shitty,
bit.
At least I get to see it.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, because if you bring back the
Even
monster,
if it's just like a hint,
then that's fine. I mean, like there are many reasons why I like 10 Cloverfield Lane as well. I happen to like the ending. You know what I mean? And so like, and we'll get into that most definitely in the next episode. But I think there are so many things working for this movie. The monster is just one of them.
Yeah.
I am never a fan, really, of found footage films. I say that, and then every time a new found footage movie comes out, I go watch it,
Yeah, and I don't really think this movie is that deep. I feel like it is post 9/11 almost incidentally. I think it latches onto those fears and compounds on them, but I think this is a very intentionally constructed movie for your entertainment. And maybe for some, psychological benefit post 9/11, because of all those far-fetched things. Like really, like this monster is where it has to be, and everything's happening as it is for the benefit of the audience. And I've almost never felt that way as much as I do in this film, and I'm like kind of thankful for it in a way. Like I'm not going, well, how did I get here? Because I'm having so much fun.
Yeah, I don't really question, my disbelief in this. Like I'm along for the ride, fully.
It's like the inconsistencies that would bother me, right? If they tried to like do it like, first of Game of Thrones, it takes them months to go across the country. By the end of the whole series, it's 5 minutes and they're already like in Winterfell, like 4 states away or something. I don't know.
Well, and this movie doesn't really do that. Like it's not really interested in the why. It's you said,
experience.
It's the mystery box, apparently, like his TED Talk, right? But like, and that's fine because it takes you like less than an hour and a half to watch Cloverfield, and it seems like it would take you a lifetime to watch Lost. So, I mean, at least Abrams at this point in his career let somebody else like play with a mystery box, and they, I don't know, made a really good movie in my opinion.
Well, so, you can see his fingerprint on, certainly on the marketing of this film.
Yes, and I feel like JJ Abrams,
the approach to the story is very JJ Abrams.
Yes, very, very much.
The mystery box that they don't open inside diegetically or outside undiegetically.
I love it when your proclivity voice comes out.
Oh.
And I have to as well. I don't think that this movie is incidentally 9/11-ish, right? Or post 9/11. I really feel like it was intentional that they were doing some of the things that they did in this movie, and maybe to sort of like, I don't know, play on people's fears or phobias, like one of the reviewers said earlier in that segment that we talked about. But while we were watching this movie, I was starting to like look at the different elements of it, and I was like, well, they have just made like a modern Gothic story here. Like there are all the trappings of everything that makes Gothic, right? And
explain. America, explain.
I will. So I think Cloverfield translates a post 9/11 American trauma into this Gothic language that it uses, right? And Gothic has always turned cultural anxieties into monsters and terror. We talked about this a lot when we were talking about the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, right? So Dracula has fears about immigration, sexuality, disease, degeneration.
But Gothic literature doesn't own symbolism.
No, it doesn't, but it utilizes it heavily
as a fear.
Yeah. Or, things that people are afraid of, they will turn these symbols into, right? Or these were like just what these themes are in these novels.
So there is such a thing as like modern Gothic.
Oh, yeah.
Or contemporary Gothic.
There's lots of different kinds
and
of
Gothic. Is that the literal translation of what Gothic means, is translating a fear into symbolism?
Yeah, it's like taking something and making it uncanny, essentially. So
what would Gothic romance be?
Gothic romance would be like Poe and Hawthorne. American Gothic is a little bit more like Gothic romance, right? Puritanism, race history, national identity, all those things are kind of wrapped up in what we would consider to be American Gothic, right? But so Gothic, when it first started, had very, very intentional architecture to it. It had the same things that happened all the time in these Gothic stories, and Cloverfield has all of them, right? So Cloverfield does this for the defining American trauma of the early 21st century, right? So 9/11. But the monster doesn't necessarily represent things like terrorism or Al-Qaeda or specific political entities, right? The monster represents catastrophe itself, right? Embodying the rationalization that the seemingly safe American cities can suddenly become incomprehensible, right? It's Gothic as fuck.
That reminds me of that one line from the Two Towers, Lord of the Rings. It was like, what can we do against this reckless hate?
Yeah.
Right. And so this monster, in a way, could also symbolize terrorism, right? Misplaced hatred.
I think that there's a reading for that, for sure. One of the earliest things that traditional Gothic had in its very, very early days was actual architecture, right? There was always a castle or an abbey or a crypt or an ancestral mansion or a labyrinth or something, right?
Or a skyscraper.
And here it is. So these spaces trap characters inside environments whose rules they no longer understand, right? And Cloverfield essentially transforms Manhattan into a Gothic castle, right? So Manhattan represents modernity.
They're in the subterraneans underneath it, and then they're on the tower of it.
Exactly. So suddenly these structures become threatening. Streets become labyrinths. Subway tunnels become crypts. Skyscrapers become unstable ruins. Bridges become death traps, right? So all this Gothic architecture is just here. Characters don't understand their space anymore. Rules don't make sense to them anymore in this movie. The loss of orientation is essential to Gothic literature, right? So the safe world becomes completely uncanny, and that is happening right here in this movie.
I don't think of Gothic film when I think of the structure become threatening or the characters not understanding their spaces anymore. Maybe like if they're a fish out of water in a haunted house they don't know, I don't know.
Well, this is more like Gothic literature anyway, right? I mean, it can translate to film somewhat, but every single Gothic novel way back in I don't know, the 18th century, even 17th century, all these things were like that.
Yellow wallpaper, House of Usher.
And that's American, right?
Yeah, but it's still Gothic.
It is Gothic. But
certainly.
But she's certainly trapped in space. Right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of visual vocabulary going on in this movie, right? Which contains a lot of Gothic elements. I mean, these filmmakers don't have to say anything about 9/11. The audience will supply all of it while watching it.
Look, you put someone, 7 years after 9/11 happened, people running on New York streets out of clouds of smoke from buildings collapsing, and it's going to elicit something.
Yeah. I mean, this is here. So, I mean, one of the things that the Gothic does, and I'll talk about this a couple times, I'm sure, is the past intruding upon the present. The past will not stay buried in Gothic literature, right? And that's exactly what's happening here with some of these visual elements. A lot of it has to do with dust, right? Mm-hmm. There's so much dust from all these falling skyscrapers in this movie, and people are covered in it. And these images already possess cultural meaning for us by 2008.
I just went back to our deep dive on War of the Worlds, where everyone's covered in that dust. And that's another post 9/11 disaster movie.
It is. It's less Gothic and more science fiction.
In a way, kind of Gothic, though.
Yeah.
Because of the whole city and everything, everywhere they go to, homes, and there's no safe space anymore.
Right. The safe spaces become uncanny, right? So Gothic.
Literally, when they're growing red vines filled with human blood. Yeah.
That's right. Gothic will always say that something is terrible something terrible is happening, but we don't really know what it means, right? And monster movies are typically examples of this omniscient cinematic perspective, right?
Would you say The Mist is Gothic then?
Yeah, certainly, because it's trapped in a
American
uncanny
Gothic or
space.
like a contemporary Gothic? Like,
I mean, it's
I'm trying to learn the lingo.
So these are all like things you would find in Gothic. Some early Gothic, you would see all of these things in it all the time. And then as Gothic went on throughout the centuries, right, it would have some of these things or none at all.
So it's almost like it's incidentally horror then. Like horror uses it because it's making symbols and analogies all the time to be able to speak with the collective unconscious about our fears at a certain time and place. And that always almost steps into Gothic storytelling, but almost because it has to, right?
Well, and for me, sometimes Gothic is more about terror and less about horror. Does that make sense?
Like you could have like a historical fiction that's Gothic, Gone with the Wind or something, right? And it doesn't have to have anything supernatural in it.
No, and it doesn't.
I would say Gone with the Wind would be Gothic.
It can. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's an argument for almost anything, right? I do like in this movie,
because the setting she feels trusted and wealthy and protected in is Gone with the fucking Wind, Robert.
It's right there in the title.
Gothic in the Wind.
This Cloverfield is doing something much different than most monster movies, though. Like in most monster movies, we get to like step back and see the military and scientists and politicians. We learn what the monster is, and then we are watching strategies develop on how to fight it, right? And Cloverfield doesn't really do that all the time. It refuses us that privilege. We know what HUD knows in this movie, right? And during 9/11, we only knew what was shown to us. Like nobody knew the complete narrative of anything. We experienced 9/11 through fragmented images, eyewitnesses, shaky amateur footage, incomplete information, and that's exactly what this movie is doing. We're not given the bigger picture of anything, really. One of my favorite things about Gothic literature happens in this movie as well. There's sometimes what is known as a Gothic witness, right? So, and Gothic kind of relies on testimony, right? Because after all, if these characters think they're going to die, their testimony might survive them.
Yeah.
If you think about Dracula, right? That novel is a series of diary entries, letters,
What is that?
ship logs, and telegrams.
What is that actually called when it's in that kind of
Epistolary.
prose? Epistolary. So it's epistolary, right? But I wouldn't think about Dracula as really Gothic in that same sense of an environment being not what like Dracula's castle is outside of the story, except for maybe bookended,
Well, it's certainly Gothic in the sense that it took a lot of like really real Victorian anxieties and told them through a sort of like symbolically supernatural setting.
Right? I guess I latched on to setting.
There's certainly castles
setting
in
in place, yeah.
Yeah.
Like that fucking Downton Abbey.
It does have a Downton Abbey.
Carfax Abbey. Yeah.
So, it's told through all those things. And
Yes.
Cloverfield sort of operates in the same kind of way. Like HUD even says out loud in this movie, people will want to know what happened. And suddenly the camera isn't just a filmmaking gimmick, it's his testimony, right? Jonathan Harker wrote his whole fucking diary and HUD presses record, right? It's just a modernized Gothic witness.
It's like a diary of the dead.
It is like a diary of the dead because they're all dead. And that's exactly what Romero failed at.
Except for that immortal camera.
Like I mentioned earlier in Gothic, it sort of operates under the assumption that the past never stays buried, right? Even things that are happening in newness is in relation to the past in some Gothic, right? So the tape we're seeing was never meant to capture this catastrophe. It was meant to be Rob and Beth's like special day, right? And then catastrophe is literally recording over their old life, right? But the past will not stay buried. As we're watching this, fragments come through.
They were recording it anyway because they were recording over mistakenly. They got to record over all of it with the testimony of everyone at the party as a send-off for Rob to go to Japan.
That's right. So New Life was recording over the old. But even still at the party, when he presses the button or someone like hits the camera, it flashes back for just a second to like the old life that keeps busting up through it, right? So the past hasn't disappeared. It keeps breaking
So they had filled that whole tape, so he was literally taping over it, yeah. Mm-hmm. Is that a Gothic thing?
The past coming back to haunt you? Yeah.
Well, definitely. I mean, like writing over, like...
No, I mean, it's just saying like the past can never be buried. Right.
Yeah.
And then we had talked about symbols for sure earlier, and I know you brought it up. And so that's something that the Gothic does really well. It corrupts symbols, especially symbols that we think are safe, much like these places that are no longer safe, right? So these symbols that provide stability, in Gothic lose all of that. So churches become sites of evil, families conceal secrets, gentlemen become monsters, right? And in Cloverfield, we see the corruption of one big symbol. It literally decapitates an American symbol of freedom and liberty, and everyone stands there and photographs it. So, I don't know. I just thought it was interesting that there are so many different aspects to what we would consider to be traditional Gothic that are just shown in this movie. And I thought it was a really neat way to do what Gothic does the best, and that's take the things that we are anxious about, that we are afraid of at any given time, and sort of like tell it through this weird kind of supernatural way, right? So we're talking about what it felt like to be in New York during catastrophe in a very real way, but showing it through this gigantic creature causing the catastrophe. And I just thought it was really, really interesting. So maybe one day I will stop trying to talk about literature. But in my opinion, film is text, and I just can't help myself.
Film is text.
Yeah. But with all that being said, do you think that Cloverfield is a horror movie?
Yes.
Yeah, I do too. It's also a science fiction movie.
Mm-hmm.
So,
it's also a Gothic horror film.
It's a Gothic science fiction horror film. Were you scared while watching Cloverfield?
I was very tense. I remember being, the first time watching it, and I've jumped every time I've seen this thing. Like the biggest jump for me, the monster's finally seen more clearly towards the end of the film, where it apparently succumbs to one of the bombardments that it's under, right?
Yeah.
And like you're looking at it first time from the top down because they're in a helicopter, and you can see it kind of falling over, and there's huge smoke clouds coming up that are enveloping the buildings around it. And you're like, okay, it's gotten away because it was a threat because the helicopter's just getting out there in time, and then all of a sudden, like it attacks in kind of a retaliation out of the mist. Eric Levin, who I guess was one of the special effects guys, said, quote, "This was our big Jaws moment." Right, we're going to need a bigger boat. Mm-hmm. Eric Levin said, we animated a huge shadow coming up through the smoke, and then Clover smashed up into the camera and took the chopper down. I jumped like crazy when that happened this time. It just comes out, like, because you think you're safe, you think the helicopter's going to go away. I forgot how they go down, because it's been a while since I saw this, and then it just like reaches out way further than you think it can.
Mm-hmm.
And it just I thought it was going to be a near miss, but it got them.
It did, and you really think that some of these characters are going to make it out alive, and then they don't. Right?
None of them.
We have to assume that they're dead. I mean, we see all that rubble all around them, but I don't know. I always jump when the tail comes out and smashes the bridge and kills the brother, right? Like because I always forget that happens, and they're leaving, and I'm like, oh, they're just leaving en masse, and then it's like whack, and I'm like, fuck, monster. But I mean, there's some scary parts to this movie for sure. I think the first time I watched it, I was probably way more on edge than I have been in subsequent viewings.
They're originally going to have it be its arm doing that, but they wanted it to make it look more incidental, right?
Like
the monster is scared.
Yeah, and I think it's effective.
Mm-hmm.
What did you rate Cloverfield out of 5 stars?
I'm rating it a 4. I think I rated it initially a 3.5, but I have that special rating at the end that is it important or significant? And I think it is for both the marketing reasons and the way it holds up, but also for maybe the reasons why you just gushed over it from a textual standpoint. But I think I'm going to bump it up to a 4.
I gave this movie a 4 stars after we watched it. And, I have seen this movie many times, and I have seen this since I joined Letterboxd. So obviously I already had a rating in there, and I rated it 4 stars the last time I watched it too. And I was like, well, that tracks and stands. So here it is. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the biggest reasons that I give this movie 4 stars, I mean, aside from everything that we've already said within this episode, is that I feel like this movie is so incredibly rewatchable. Like, I can't think about, if someone were to come and say, you know what, I really want to watch Cloverfield, I don't think I'd be like, nah, I think I'll skip it. You know what I mean? I feel like Cloverfield is a movie that I would want to watch. I think it's easy to watch. I think it's quick. It does not feel very long at all. And I'm satisfied every time I watch the movie. And I think that is very, very special.
Yeah.
Now, if we're talking about post 9/11 films, I still think that War of the Worlds is a better movie.
Really?
Yeah, I gave that 5 stars, and I will stand by that.
I don't think I did.
But I would always choose to watch Cloverfield over War of the Worlds. It's just more fun.
Yeah.
You know? Finally, who's the hottest guy in Cloverfield?
I think for me, it's got to be Mike Vogel as Jason Hawkins, Rob's brother. He dies on the bridge.
Agreed.
He's more, I don't know,
Handsome.
conventionally attractive. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and I also kind of like her boyfriend, the guy from Superstore. I don't know why. He's kind of weird looking, but
they're all good looking.
They are. It's a very good looking, up and coming, like 2008-ish cast.
They all look like they're United Colors of Benetton or something. It just that kind of pisses me off.
I mean, you look at them and you
except
wonder.
for poor TJ Miller.
Yeah, he's not attractive.
He didn't come into his looks until much, much older.
I don't believe for a second though that any of them like could afford the places in New York that they lived in.
My God, every time something is in New York, I feel, except for maybe Spider-Man, because he's always like in some like
hovel,
hovel closet, and I'm like, yep.
These people are living in like penthouses, and he's in some sort of backpacker's hovel. Do you have some fun facts for me?
I do.
Okay.
All right. So the film was initially titled Cloverfield. That was always the plan, although it changed several times throughout production and was reverted. So Matt Reeves explained that this was due to the hype caused by the teaser trailer. He said, quote, "That excitement spread to such a degree that we suddenly couldn't use the name anymore. So we started using all of these names like Slusho and Cheese. And people always found out that we were doing." He said that Cloverfield was the government's case designation for the events caused by the monster, comparing the titling to that of the real Manhattan Project, though the government did not originate that. So Cloverfield Boulevard is the highway exit JJ Abrams takes to his Santa Monica office, and which used to lead to the Santa Monica Airport, which was originally bore the name Cloverfield.
Oh, okay.
So that's why.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like this movie has a good title that it works just because of.
Even at the end, though, at the credits, I was like, why was it titled Cloverfield? I just didn't, yeah. And then later I just kind of accepted it. Of course it's Cloverfield. What else would it be named?
Exactly. I mean, I don't know.
And then, of course, everyone started talking, naming the monster Clover.
Yes. And so, like, that happened afterward. And so some people, like, really feel like that's what the monster was supposed to be called. They're like, well, that's why it's called Cloverfield. And I'm like, no, that came later. Like, good Lord.
Also, there's a weird, like, anecdote that I did not put in here. Like, that someone stupidly added to, like, IMDb, and maybe this is true. But it's, like, after, like, a Project Hammer Down or, like, a nuclear attack, the first vegetation to grow back is clover.
Oh. Well, that's good, too. I like that.
It's kind of retarded. I don't know.
No. Well, we don't say retarded anymore. Except on this podcast.
Except here. It's the last bastion of saying retarded. Because it's usually in reference to ourselves.
That's right. Except we say fucking retarded.
Next up, casting was done in secret with no script sent to candidates. And to prevent the leaking of plot information, instead of auditioning the actors with scenes from the film, the scripts from Abrams' previous productions were used, such as television series Alias and Lost. Some scenes were also written specifically for the audition process, never intended for the use in the film. Lizzy Caplan famously stated that she accepted a role in Cloverfield without knowing the premise, solely because she was a fan of Abrams' produced Lost. And her experience of discovering its true nature initially caused her to state that she would not sign for a film in the future without knowing full well what it was. She indicated that her character was a sarcastic outsider and that her role was physically demanding.
She exploded.
I had to explode.
Do you know
what they asked me to do?
Do you know how long she had to prepare for that?
JJ asked me to cry blood.
Was it physically? Yeah, I guess for any of the characters, I think she had the most physically demanding stuff. She had to be covered in dust more than anyone else. She was always like weeping.
Yeah.
Enter the bitch.
Yeah, and she didn't know. And she was quoted also, I mean, like, I never would have chosen a horror movie. Of course, now she's like a genre person.
Exactly.
So I think Lizzy Caplan of today, especially after Drag, watching that, I'm just like, okay, maybe she's forgiven. Maybe she's no longer my nemesis-y.
No, she played fucking a young Annie Wilkes, for crying out loud.
Yeah, god damn it.
So she's come to the dark side.
Yeah, maybe.
It's fine.
So the severed head of Statue of Liberty was inspired by the poster of the 1981 film Escape from New York.
Yes.
As much as you want it to be symbolism for 9/11 and the fall of America, and a twisted symbol of Gothic literature, Literally just because he liked the poster. Maybe incidentally had that meaning. I don't know. But Matt Reeves said, quote, "It's an incredibly provocative image, and that was the source that inspired producer JJ Abrams to say, now that would be an interesting idea for a movie."
So he took an entire poster and made a movie about it.
Basically, and a toy store in Tokyo. Yeah. So the head of the Statue of Liberty is shown about 50% larger than its actual size. CG supervisor David Vecre said in an interview that many people imagine the head of being much bigger than it actually is, and that the size was increased due to complaints that the head looked too small in the trailer.
Wasn't it much bigger?
And I noticed that because I just watched the trailer back, and it is kind of like what I would expect. But then, like in the movie, it's bigger, right? And I don't know. Like, if you go to New York and you think of the Statue of Liberty as some sort of like bastion of statues world, I don't know.
It's not that big.
And then you go to the coast of Manhattan and like look for it. It's like tiny little,
yes,
teensy tiny. And then you go on a ferry and you go past Liberty Island, and you're like, oh, even up close, it's not that big.
It's really not. The new roller coaster here in our neck of the woods is actually taller than the Statue of Liberty.
Which is ironic to say because Clover is almost exactly the same height. Now I can actually imagine how big Clover is. And I just don't feel like the size of Clover is like a real threat that level of military response wouldn't be able to kind of like deal with pretty quickly.
I mean, unless like its skin is so thick that bullets couldn't penetrate it.
It's barely the size of a marshmallow man.
And that took some doing to get down. Hammer down from
marshmallows.
Yeah, they had to like burn it eventually.
I don't know.
Maybe JJ Abrams just isn't as deep as me.
I would almost certainly agree with that. Although he has some hangerings sometimes. Anyway, blink and you miss it. We did mention this in the synopsis. Blink and you miss it at the end of the film. The video cuts back to the couple's video at Coney Island, where they are filming from the top of a Ferris wheel. And on the right side of the frame, you can see something fall from the sky and land in the water in the background.
I have seen this movie probably about 5 or 6 times.
I was told about it, and I looked at it when I was like looking forward to it when I bought the Blu-ray.
And I have never seen that. No one's ever told me. Although I don't think I've ever watched this movie with people until now.
And I was so happy that you said no, because I was able to rewind and play it again for you.
He was like, "Did you see it?" And I was like, "See what? Fucking Coney Island?" I was like, "Yeah, I've been there." And he was like, "No." And he rewound it. He was like, "Look at the top right." And I was like, "Oh shit!" Just like fuck. I love seeing new things in movies.
Yeah, it's really subtle too.
It's super subtle but neat. I really like that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I have to bump it up half a star now for that shit.
Oh.
I love that kind of shit. Damn it.
Yeah. Okay. So finally, the running time of the film without credits is about 80 minutes exactly, the length of a long-running mini DV tape, a common format used in consumer camcorders.
Well, that is also effective.
Yep. It's the length.
What a good tidbit.
Yep.
I like that too. Cloverfield's a good movie. I'm glad we're talking about it. We've been talking about this movie for a long time.
I'm ready to stop talking about it.
Yes, we're done. We're done talking about it. And I think that wraps this episode of The Film Flamers, where we discussed Cloverfield. As always, we want to know what you think about this movie and our conversation about it. Go to social media, find us at The Film Flamers on Facebook, on Instagram, on Blue Sky, on Threads, all the places.
If those are even still things. You can email us at tiredqueens@filmflamers.com, or you can call our hotline at 972-666-7733. Talk to us about how you're tired of us talking about wanting to talk about Cloverfield. Anyway, and join us for next week when we talk about Cloverfield 2, the fake sequel.
That's right. 10 Cloverfield Lane 2.
With John Hamm. Wait.
John Hamm Planet.
Oh, not anymore.
Not anymore. Now he looks sickly.
Oh.
I know, but I still love him.
He's
in
one of
the
my
National
favorite
Treasure.
actors. Yeah,
agreed. He's so good in everything.
Anyway.
All right, Chris.
Now that we've insulted everybody.
I know. If we even have any listeners next week after this, then stay tuned. I mean, we're going to make an episode anyway.
Yeah, and join us on Patreon when we see Cloverfield Paradox for the first time.
That's right. Hot take coming at you, y'all.
Or at least a tepid response.
That's right. It's going to be one of the two. But until then, I think it's time for us to go off and have some sweet dreams. You know, the only thing that I want more of from this movie is I want to know what those parasites like do. Like why did she explode?
Maybe it's the things from Dreamcatcher. It's just exploding and then becomes a giant alien.
I like that movie a lot too.
Yeah. Okay. Is that Gothic?
No.
My mind palace isn't Gothic.